Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. Countries in Africa, the European Union, as well as Singapore and Thailand, among a growing list of nations that have rolled out, or at least proposed the rollout of vaccine passports so far. The U.S. is looking to follow in their path, but concerns about privacy and security threatens to derail some of those efforts. Let's bring in Todd McKinnon. He is the CEO of Okta. Todd, it's good to talk to you today. It's interesting because when you look at the discussion in the U.S., it does feel like it's been quite fragmented. Some states talking about their own verification system, not necessarily significant discussion on the federal level. From a security standpoint, looking at where those flaws can be, how do you think a vaccine passport, any kind of verification system, should look like on a national level?
Well, good morning, Akiko, and thanks for having me on. It's a very important issue. We all can collectively agree that we want to get back to business, whether that's private industry, whether that's students being back at school, whether that's people going back to their regular medical checkups to stay healthy. This is an important part of getting back to normal. And I think we've seen that the U.S. has done amazing having some of the first and most effective vaccines. So that's the science. And we at Okta, we believe in science and technology. And the technology part of this is, as you mentioned, getting a scalable, fast, easy to use vaccine passport for the U.S. And I think at the federal level, there's been some hesitancy to dictate too much and concerns about privacy. But I think what's really required is the federal government has to give the states some guidelines, some very simple guidelines on what a digital passport or what a vaccine passport looks like, what it has in there, what it doesn't have in there, and then let the states and private companies and local bodies go about implementing some of that passport mechanisms so that we can do what we need is get proof of vaccination and take advantage of the fact that we're doing so well in vaccinating everyone and leverage this science and now this technology to make it all get us back to normal.
Yeah, and the other examples around the world don't seem necessarily that complicated, right? I mean, you look at maybe some of these things are just a green bar. I think in the Israeli version, it doesn't seem that hard to do. But of course, what do I know about security issues around these? You're the experts. Talk to me about maybe costs of something just as simple as that when you roll it out at a national scale.
Well, I think one of the things that is slowing us down a little bit is in cases we're trying to boil the ocean. We don't have to put a complete medical record online. We don't have to make a passport for everything you've done in your past history. We just need to be fast about this one very important vaccine. So that simplifies the problem a lot. And in security, the simpler things are, the less risk there are, and the more secure they can be. So we think simplicity is a key, and that's where that simple federal guideline could help us agree on what's required and what's not. Again, and even some of the user interface, what it looks like. So as you take it from business to business, whether you're flying on a plane, whether you're going to a sports game, the people checking that passport could have a simple visual cue as what it should look like, and it would make it more accepted, more widely used, and accomplish this objective is getting us all back to work as quickly as possible.
How hard is it to bring everything online, though, after the fact? Those of us who've gotten vaccinated already have our vaccine cards. It seems like a piece of paper that's pretty easy to forge, and we've already seen several reports of that. How do you bring together a digital system when so many people have already been vaccinated and only have a verification through a piece of paper?
Well, I think everything is going online. You talk about it every day on your show. We're all living it every day. Everything is going online. And I think that there's so much precedent to put things online, put things in mobile apps, whether it's your credit cards, whether you're going to Starbucks and paying with your phone. There's so much precedent that it's very possible. And I think that the fact that it is online and it is easy to visually verify and it's a common, consistent format will make it much more usable and much more portable.
We talked a lot about this before, about maybe creating a global standard when we were looking forward to reopening and what that might do for a big boost in terms of just the airline industry as well, kind of trying to have something that worked across country lines. What does that look like now at this point, if it's even just difficult dealing with states in our own federal government here and even having hopes that that could happen?
Well, I think that's why we have to strike this balance. The U.S. has amazing diversity and different pockets of innovation and different regions around the country. So so there's going to be some local initiatives that get these things solved on the local level, whether it's state governments, local governments, county governments, or it's private businesses. But it's so fragmented, and that diversity can be a hindrance, which is why we need federal guidelines on how it should all fit together, what should be required, what data, what the UI should look like. And then I think, federal government could give some of these guidelines to make things consistent across the state and local agencies. And that's the best hope to get these standards agreed upon internationally. Right. Ultimately, as you mentioned, we'd love to have an international standard, but I think we have to start with our own federal government giving some standards, states, working to those standards, and take it from there in terms of international.
But if we're talking specifically about a federal system, how quickly do you think this can be established? A digital database, what kind of investment, what kind of technology this entails? Are we talking a few months? How quickly can this happen?
That's a really good point, because I don't think we should have one central database at the federal government. I think that's too hard and too slow. That's why we need some of this just standards and some of this simple formats and simple data, what should be captured, what should not, how it should look, and then let different groups, whether it's private companies or local agencies, implement to that standard. What that does is let you move fast, because speed is of the essence here. This can't be a federal project that takes 7 years. We don't have 7 years. We need to get back to business sooner. So the combination of a federal standard at a high level, local implementation, I think, is the right mix between effectiveness and speed.
Okay, we'll be watching to see how that plays out. Okta CEO Todd McKinnon, good to talk to you today.